I think now it should work. All right. Like that. Okay, I will try to double record just to be sure. I'm just gonna make sure that there's in-game audio, otherwise it's probably gonna be a little bit boring. All right, I think now it works. Okay, perfect. All right, so thank you so much for coming, guys, again for the coaching session. As I've already discussed with you guys before I started recording, I'm gonna be going over some Nuke CT rotations today, because we talked about in an earlier session how to generate pressure as T. We talked about these pressure lines for whoever remembers this, and that's a really big part of how to play T. Now we're going to be talking about how to play CT, basically, because the reason that most people dislike Nuke, or at least find it to be a very difficult map, is because it's the map where the CT rotations are the most difficult. If you imagine a map like Inferno, it's very simple. If you rotate from A to B, there are basically two paths you can take. You can, if you're going from long to B, you can take one where the T's can hear you, but then you can take one way that's slightly longer, but the T's can't hear you if you're running. And that's basically it. On Nuke, though, because the map has so much, well, first of all, it has a lot of verticality, but it also just, I mean, everything is kind of intertwined. It makes things really difficult to visualize. And on a map like Vertigo, for example, the CT rotations, even though that map has a ton of verticality, the CT rotations are very obvious as well. I mean, there are basically only a couple of ways you can rotate, and it's mostly for the T's that they have like a ladder going up and stuff like this. That's why Nuke is kind of unique, and I am going to tell you today, I think we'll very briefly touch on like the roles as CT, and then we will talk about who is rotating and when, basically. So it's kind of like, in a way, follow-up to the pressure lines thing we talked about, but also something different. So just going over the roles super quick. We have ramp, obviously. Ramp player's job is to make sure the T's don't come ramp. He has kind of some decisions to play, like take. He can either play for ramp, so he can play full committed and play until the death. He can play retake ramp, which is pretty rarely seen, but you could have an AWP playing retake. You could also have a rifle playing info and then giving it up. Could maybe make sense in the farmer too. And then also you can do what I call play for the drop. So let's say I kill the first guy, I drop down, and I try to play from B side. That's basically ramp player's job. Hot player, it's basically block hot, and yeah, that's realistically just it. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I don't really know what happened here, but for the door player, let me buy an HE here real quick. For the door player, his job is basically help blocking A, so he wants to make sure they don't go A, but he also needs to be a rotating player, and that's what can be pretty difficult to visualize sometimes. Then you have like the AWP player, who is like the other rotate, and then you have the outside guy. What is interesting about Nuke is that you, on most maps, like, again, we take a simple map, if you have some map like Dust 2, you have a B player and you have a B rotation. And then you have sort of a long player, a short player, and you have an A rotation. On Mirage as well, the two rotating players are mostly, I would say, like Con and Window. You're gonna have kind of two rotators. But on Nuke, you kind of have three in certain scenarios. And that's really what you want to know, because most of the, especially the Danish teams, have some pretty structured ideas for how you want to rotate. Now, for the AWP, he can kind of decide just where he wants to start. This does affect the rotations, but I think this is something we'll touch on later. Basically, what you want to know about Nuke is that if the T's go outside, and they do like an outside wall of smokes, and they are now able to go secret. Well, the super normal and very default rotation is that ramp player is playing someone ramp. Let's say he plays for the drop. Okay, they do outside smokes. Alright, he's gonna drop down. He's gonna go over to wherever. Some people like to break the windows. Some people like to go through the door here, because then nothing is broken. So in the event now that they come secret and he fights them, but then they also come ramp, they still have to either open the glass. Bro, what is... I think I have something on K. Oh, what do I have it on? Why is it restarting? It's J. Okay, sorry guys. But in the event that he fights secret and the other T's come ramp, it can be nice that nothing is broken. Yeah, that's just a small thing. But basically, if the T's do wall of smokes, the general rule is the ramp player is the rotating player, and he will come down here and he will play however he likes. Then the AWP, who is typically playing like around heaven or under heaven or maybe demon box, what he will do is he will come and take over ramp. So he will come and play backup. The idea of this is that he can typically get one free shot off, then he can get the information and he can rotate off of ramp. And then his role, instead of blocking ramp, becomes blocking under heaven most of the time. So a really normal reaction by the CT AWP is like wall of smokes, okay, ramp player rotates, AWP comes and takes over ramp, he takes one shot, falls back, and what I at least used to do a lot was then I would come here and I would sit either right side demon box or I would sit left side demon box. Left side is a little bit more, like the angle is a little bit better, but if your teammates don't have full control of outside, you can maybe die like this. That's why sitting right side is typically better. This is where you can see if the AWP decides to give up ramp, that's when it's possible that the guy here gets split on, basically. So, I talked about the door player also playing rotation. And now the question is, when is the door player playing rotation? Why is he playing rotation in some rounds? Well, a lot of the really good teams have what's called instant smokes. I haven't thrown them for a while, so I'm not sure if I would be able to land it correctly. Actually, I think one of them is like... Man, it's been a while. I think you used to be able to get stuck here somewhere, and then you could do this. This is, for example, one of the fast smokes. You barely need any lineup, and you can just instantly go in position. And I think the other one was something like this. I'm not sure. No, it wasn't. Either way, professional teams typically have like an early wall of smokes, and this wall of smoke is so fast that the smokes are in the air when the guy here comes running over. So this smoke he will throw for himself. He will just do this, and then when he's going to red, he maximum needs to wait like this, and now he runs, and there's a full wall of smokes here. At least the way it worked in CSGO is there's very little for the AWP and the rifle player to do. If you have the chance, like if you have a Molotov, you as AWP can try to just bounce a Molotov here, but sometimes it can land a little bit because of the smoke in a bad way, and the T's can always run into the smoke and run through without taking much damage. Now in CS2, obviously, there's also the possibility of nading the smokes. So they blow up, and now you get some vision. But basically, when the smokes come from spawn, this is a normal situation where the door player will use his smoke door early round, and then he will be the one playing rotation. Can anyone tell me why the door player is playing rotation in this moment? Like, instead of the ramp player?
Faster one down.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get there to cut off the push into sight.
Yeah.
Kind of bottlenose into the hallway.
That's exactly it. Like, if you as ramp player come over here and you have a job that looks like this, let's say he's going to do Molo, then he goes and he plays for the drop, and now oh, they do instant wall of smokes. Okay, now he's dropping, and then he has to run all the way over here. He has to break the glass. He has to run over here. And it's possible his contact comes when he basically swings this corner. They can already be here if they rush the whole way. And that's a really disadvantageous fight for the CT. Exactly because... he's probably facing multiple people, right? This is an example of where you want your door player to be the rotate instead, because if they do instant wall of smokes, he goes down, well, he still has the ability to get into a position like this, for example, jiggle with Molotov, this thing that I kind of call Magis. When he gets contact, he drops the Molo, he stays alive, he's buying a lot of time, right? So this is an example of when the door player plays rotation instead. And that's why for a lot of teams, it will be that the sort of chain of command, in a way, is that the outside player, he's obviously the guy who is spotting what kind of smokes they're doing. Like, you can imagine as well, with these smokes, like this wall of smokes, if they come from spawn, it makes a lot of sense for the door player to drop down. But say that they do these wall of smokes, it's more likely that they want to do an A-split off of these smokes than secret, especially because the AWP might be able to get some information on secret. Like, ignore this wall of smokes, but like these smokes. And in this case, it would probably be that they don't go as fast down, and also you need your door player to still be playing A, in which case the ramp player is rotating. The chain of command goes typically in a pro team that the outside player is the one spotting the smokes first, so he's the one calling the rotation. So he will say, depending on how the team works, he will call to always the same guy. That's at least the way I like it. So it could be something like, they're doing wall of smokes, like instant wall of smokes. Door player, you have to rotate down. And then it does happen sometimes that the door player is being blocked for whatever reason. Let's say the door player is here, and he did like a Molotov in front of vent to block the rotation, and he's spamming a ton. It could be that the T's have also done like a lurk smoke, and the CT doesn't know if the T managed to get down vent. In this case, the chain of command goes like this. Outside guy talks to door guy. He says, door guy, rotate down. And then the door guy says, I cannot rotate down. So the chain of command becomes door guy tells ramp guy, you have to go down. So typically it's smart to assign it so the outside guy always talks to one guy, basically. And then that guy needs to be able to respond. Because sometimes for the outside guy, it can be a little bit unclear who is the better to have rotate. And the idea of saying it to the door player always is that if it's instant wall of smokes, the door guy has to rotate really fast. If it's not instant wall of smokes, well, then the ramp player might as well rotate. But also, if it's instant wall of smokes and the door guy is blocked, he will know it immediately. And then he can tell the ramp player to go down. Then we obviously get the issue that I talked about earlier, where the ramp guy, he doesn't have time to make it into a good position. So maybe he will instead just play like clock, or he will play over here, or he will play dark, or he will play whatever. You can even play this angle I've played in the past. I call it armor neck, where you stand, so if the double door opens, you have a good duel, and if they come window, you have a good duel. It's a really all-in position, but just giving you some opportunities.
So is this something that is special to Nuke, that the outside guy is kind of IGLing despite the fact not being the IGL necessarily, or is it something that happens on all maps, like for some positions?
Well, a lot of outside players are also the IGLs, at least typically, in a lot of Danish teams. Like, for example, when I played in Heroic, at the beginning we had BlameF playing ramp, which was pretty stupid looking back on it, because the guy's way too good to be playing ramp. But he was later playing outside and calling everything. Glaive
so
was
Rain, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. But then at least you can make the argument that Rain is a very experienced and tenured guy, right? But for the old Astralis as well, it was even though they had many really good players, it was Glaive who was playing outside, who was the IGL, of course. And it's a funny way to look at it. I guess it kind of makes sense that he's kind of CT calling. He needs to be good at understanding which wall of smokes so that he calls at the right time and also calls what wall of smokes. The way pro teams will approach it is, for a lot of teams, this, for example, will be called flip side smokes. And then you have all these variations, like there's these ones. I've heard them be called Vitality. I've heard them be called G2. Maybe I've even heard them be called Envy smokes. There's like this wall of smoke as well. That was popular in CSGO. This was probably like the Navi wall. But every team has basically a different call out for this. So as a team, you gotta agree on what they're called, and then the outside player needs to be good at calling the right name, of course. But basically, it's like imagine like an assembly line where they're putting together cars, right? It's like the outside guy is the first guy on the assembly line. He gets the first point of contact or info, basically. He sends it further down the line to the door player. And then if the door player is able to complete the task himself, he will do it. But if he's not able, he will throw it over to the ramp guy, who then rotates. Now, there are some scenarios, and I will use these scenarios because they are scenarios that will happen. And I want to use these scenarios to talk about, like, I'll use these to ask you guys a question. So, we talked about how if it's instant wall of smokes, right? It's typically the door player who's rotating. What do you think happens if the T's only did this smoke at the beginning? They naded the door, they did lurk smoke here, and they did a flash through the skylight. Like this one. And then, after this, they do flip side smokes. And you have a garage player. This is a very specific example, but this is pretty important. If, let's say, I'm the outside player, I hear them rushing down secret, I go, they're doing flip side smokes, they're rushing down secret. What should happen now? This scenario.
The ramp guy drops down, yeah.
And why?
Because
they can be down vents, so it's risky to go down vents.
Exactly.
You've also got like the flash, so that like the heaven guy can't rotate either.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically if you as door player are unsure. I mean, I would say it's not so much if you're unsure, because if you will basically a lot of rounds be unsure. Like, it depends on how good of a door player you are. If they do lurk smoke, like door smoke every round, and you come here, you instant spam, and your teammate has Molotov this for you every round, and you instantly go T-vent, obviously you're not unsure, right? But there will be some rounds where you simply don't know. He could have caught a timing, these kind of things. If you get really good at playing door, you probably have a pretty good read of when they are lurking out door and when they are not. But in the event that you think they can be down vent, and maybe you even think that they are down vent, this is obviously a scenario where even though it seems smartest that the door player is the one rotating, it makes more sense for him to delegate that to the ramp guy. And again, we end in a situation where the ramp guy, he is probably too late to go and actually fight something. So he will instead be defending the bomb site from, like, without having broken the glass, without pushing these doors. Yeah, that's a very specific scenario. I have another specific scenario for you. Who rotates? Like, let's say I am the AWP player, so I'm one of the rotation players, and I am coming ramp at the start, and I'm going secret, and I'm immediately starting secret. If they come secret, who rotates now?
Door.
I don't think anybody has to rotate if you're here with an op.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a trick question, because that's kind of the idea. The CT rotations obviously change depending on where the AWP player plays. Because if the AWP wants to do a peek on door at the beginning, like, I love this, and I also like peeking from the other side. In fact, I actually like it even more from this side, because you have angle against the T AWP here. you are further from the corner than he is. So if you slow clear it, you will win this duel. And as soon as you get this, you can actually contact the end door if you know he can't be left side and clear this, and you can come in and you can hold back lobby. I love this move. And as you can imagine, if the T's, like if I as AWP, I'm starting door, and they do this lurk vent smoke, probably 9 times out of 10, I will say I'm not rotating here. I don't want to go through the smoke with an AWP, with the off chance that I am going down here and someone can drop vent on me, for example, right? The same if I'm starting secret. This was the scenario I gave you. No one necessarily has to rotate, because I, as the AWP, should be able to get some kills here, or potentially block. If I start with AWP and it didn't do instant smokes, I can even go take this angle, and go take this angle. There's many good AWP angles here where you can take a shot, fall back, take new shot, fall back, take new shot, fall back, take new shot. Now you're fucked. But anyway, let me see if I have another scenario.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry for cutting you off.
No, not a problem.
This like sounds all well and good in theory, but what happens if they do that instant wall of smokes, and they have one door player who throws that smoke in front of vents, and then they wait for ramp player to rotate down, and then they just go ramp and take heaven fast, and also have the door guy and one maybe lobby.
Well, they can't, because if the ramp player rotates, the AWP comes over and picks it up. So if they go out ramp now, I as the AWP will get at least one shot off. Maybe I'm blind, maybe I'm not. If I'm not blind, I probably get this kill 8 times out of 10, maybe even more. And then I forfeit ramp, and now this guy on B, he is kind of under pressure. But then you have to imagine as well, this obviously comes down to a read. If they do instant wall of smokes, and use this kind of to fake and go ramp, well, this is a scenario where the door player can easily go down vent. Because if the T's did instant wall of smokes, and they did vent drop with a guy, and then they ran ramp, then they deserve to win a round, I feel like. Then they are really Omega brain. Like, that's really hard to pull off, because this guy is gonna potentially die in door. The outside players need to have not naded the smoke, got no info, and everything. But basically, in this scenario you said, if the ramp player rotates down, the AWP comes and most of the time picks up ramp, he will get a kill or not, but he's always gonna get the info, and he can even take new angle like this. I don't know, if you get creative as well, you can take a shot, you model this. Now they cannot go B. You buy a couple more seconds. I know a lot of AWPs like to do it as well. They take a shot here, and then they go and they wallbang like this, because this wall is very spammable with AWP, and they actually like almost die in one hit. Maybe you even die in one hit in CSGO actually with AWP in body. But yeah.
Would you say there's any benefits to rotating through ramp if you can rotate to vents instead? Like if vents is not blocked, would there be any scenario in which you go like the ramp player rotate anyway?
I mean, I would say the ramp rotation on a lot of teams is the default rotation, and it kind of is because ramp is an area you can give up, you know? Like, say the T's come out ramp, and I'm playing AWP backup, and I get blinded, now they take ramp, well, they still are far from winning the round, right? But imagine a scenario where my door guy rotates down, and now the smoke faded door, and the T's do like smoke here, and they go out with flashes. I, as the AWP, am probably playing heaven, and they can fight me in headshot angle. Maybe I'll get the first kill, but it's hard for me to go out again. It's kind of the same as on ramp. If I take this shot, it's hard for me to re-peek. The thing is, if the T's go out and get control of ramp, it's kind of whatever. They cannot plant in ramp. But if the T's come out door and they kill my A guy and they get the bomb site, this might be an impossible retake scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why...
Would you if you have like an idea that you think it's probably going to be B, or more likely that they put more pressure B, then you'd want to rotate faster through vents. But if you think they can still go anywhere, or you're not unsure, then maybe the ramp rotate is more like a default.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just about which space you want to block them. Like, we talked about pressure lines a little bit, but like this, for example, is a really big one. As soon as they can go through here, now they can split up and go 2 places. So if they can go really fast down secret, I want my door player to block it, because I don't want them to go out here if I can avoid it. And that's why if they don't do instant wall of smokes and the ramp guy can be here on time, he is able to come over here and block this area. I'm not sure if I maybe misunderstood your question.
Yeah, okay. So it's based on how much time you think you have.
Yes,
Like
basically.
Indoor. Yeah.
I want to be able to block them here. And the rotation patterns on CT Nuke is a lot about getting to block them here in time. Because if you go down and you smoke them here, for example, this is smoke that basically no team in the world will go through, because it is suicide. And that's also why it's a little bit of a side note, but if you as the door player, like imagine a scenario where the T's do a wall of smoke on 1 minute, and I don't know, let's say they do wall of smokes and it's like instant smokes, like they're thrown from spawn, and this smoke comes at the same time, and now they just run down, and the outside guy hears that they're running down. Now you as door player, you will be like rotating down vent, and I learned something from Freiburg that if you this is actually a pretty bad scenario. Let me give you a better scenario. Let's say it's a late round. The T's have maybe already done a wall of smokes, but for whatever reason, we know that they are not down. Maybe they failed the smoke, or maybe they went many ramp and took over the control there, or whatever. And it becomes some weird, like, 3v3. What a lot of T's will do in, like, a 3-on-3 is they will walk outside with no util. Because it's really unlikely that someone is holding outside when it gets late in the round. Let's say this is around 50 seconds or 45 seconds. So now they walk across outside and they don't get any contact because we're playing, let's say, 1 door, 1 hot, 1 ramp. At some point, I as door player, if I still have my smoke, I actually ended up in this scenario quite a bit in Heroic. Freiburg told me that if you are afraid they're gonna go secret, if you smoke this on like 45 seconds, the T's are never going B anymore. There is like 0 chance, basically, that the T's get smoked here on 45 seconds, and they're thinking, we will sit completely silently in secret 20 seconds and have only 20 seconds basically to make it to the B bomb site. If you do the smoke late round, the T's will always, if they get blocked by it, rotate back up and try to go A. So what Freiburg told me is, if you smoke this late in like a 3v3 or something like this, always leave it, because T's are not gonna walk through the smoke. It's just like, it's basically fact. It's one of those things where you can do this, I think, 200 times, and the T's will go through it maximum 1 time. So like, this is just, if you end up in this scenario, you have a smoke, yeah, now you know this, because this is something that I didn't actually understand until I was told.
Yeah, sorry, doesn't this
yeah?
change in CS2 though? Because of the nade and smoke interaction? Can they, like, I don't know, 10% of the time just nade it and push it? Like,
Yes,
there's a
potentially
chance.
they could. But I would also say, if you hear them throw an HE, that might be enough time for the ramp player to come down here and get into a position where he can do something, you know? Like,
Yeah,
it's more like if they slow walk through this, they are crazy.
they're fucked.
Yeah. That's a very big risk from them to take, you know, and it's a pretty unlikely one. But you're right. I think also it is sort of unlikely that someone has saved an HE for this late in the round, you know. Like, it's probably a round where they've used most of the util already. But it could happen, and it's good that you bring it up, because you're definitely right. Like, if I get smoked here and I have an HE and I'm feeling pressured, I might nade this and go through and just go full send it out this door to catch them off guard, you know.
Now that you explained it, you could also make an argument that you should always like push it to the ground, because you just explained that you would almost always just leave it.
Yeah.
So if I see that smoke at like 45 seconds, 50 seconds left, I can be kind of sure that nobody's holding it and he's free, basically.
Well, yes and no, because like this rule or like this thing, I don't think many people know this, you know, even pros. So I think it would be, as a T, also a very big risk to do this move. You can try it though. I'm all for trying it, but in the event that some facet pucker who has not much brain is smoking it off and playing down here, you're all dead. And the round is 100% lost, you know, and that's the worry. And also, people are typically a little less willing to take gigantic risk in an official match, for example. Like in a facet puck, they might just walk through it, but in an official match, I think you'll be pretty safe knowing that they probably will not be making a play there.
Just NC anti-strat. You ever play against
Yeah.
Nuke?
Yeah.
Walk to smokes, man.
Yep, exactly.
Never
No, but it's a
know.
good rule. I have another golden rule as well. This one actually blew my mind. I learned it only, well, it's less than a year ago. And when I heard it, I thought, how did I not know this sooner? I'm going to test you guys. Actually, I think this one I can't really test you on. But it's basically, I was playing in Undefined, and we had Crystal as coach. And I think Crystal is one of the greatest minds of Counter-Strike. This guy is amazing. Great player, great teammate, great coach. Got nothing better to say. He is brilliant. And he told me, I don't think he came up with it. I think he got it maybe from Devil Walk, I'm not sure. But he learned when he played in Godsend that wherever the T's send down their first terrorist, I will say it one more time because it's really important and it's a little bit deep. Wherever the T's send down their first player, they will never go again in that round. And it sounds kind of crazy, but if the T's do a vent drop smoke and one guy lurks down vent, have you ever seen a pro team later in the round do a new vent drop smoke with 4 guys and rush down vent? Personally, I haven't. It basically doesn't happen. If the T's do an outside wall of smokes and they send down 1 or 2 players to take over secret control, have you ever seen a pro team throw like a new wall of smoke and go secret again? And
Well,
You mean like in the same round?
in the same round.
I mean, for the
You-
outside,
you
one, they
can't.
physically
I mean,
can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can technically, because if you do
the
the
pick up another smoke or something.
no, like if you do this wall of smoke,
if you keep
and
someone
now-
behind red.
no. If you do this, if you do like these 3 smokes, and you go down, and the garage player knows it, you probably don't need this smoke the second time around. It's really unlikely that the garage guy will sit like this, holding this, or sit credit and hold this if he hears people go down secret. He is thinking, they're down secret, okay, now they're probably going ramp or something like this. He will try to get closer to bomb sites, most likely. Because what will happen also a lot is, they do instant wall of smokes. Okay, door player rotates down. Well, that means outside guy, he will rotate to some position, like maybe this, or holding an off angle like this, or maybe he will go to play main, so that he's closer to help with A side. If they decide to smoke main and stuff, he can run through it. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
Well,
the
well-
reason that people won't do basically the same play twice in the same round, it seems logical because the enemy team will have a higher awareness of that area after they've tried to do something, right?
Yeah,
So like, let's say they throw outside smokes, you're gonna have people outside after that. You're gonna have people waiting and trying to find the lurk outside, or, you know, or the guy who's gone down secret or whatever. And thus, it's probably kind of dumb to try and do the same thing again, like half a minute later.
yeah, that's the thing. And I think that's also kind of maybe something people subconsciously know in a way, that as a CT, if I hear one guy made it down secret, I mean, I just even said it, but I will think, okay, I'm going to strengthen the bomb sites now. Like, I let my door guy rotate down, take care of this one guy who's down, and now I want to play closer to the A side. And by playing closer to the A side, well, this allows me to help with blocking the vent drop if the rest want to go down vent. and it frees the AWP up to maybe play under heaven, which allows them to rotate fast to ramp if they come ramp. But it's like kind of a crazy rule. Like we did this in Undefined basically, that if we knew that they were not all down somewhere, they have to find a new avenue to get to the B bomb site. And there are basically 3 avenues, right? So if the one guy made it down vent, we can be kind of sure that they're not gonna end A with a guy in vent, because why the fuck would they? And this also is like they are likely not going to vent drop in the same round. Like it's really, really unlikely. It is possible, but it's really unlikely. And it's the same if they send one guy down on secret smokes. I don't think our CT guys is holding this, so now they can potentially cross to red for free. At least it's worth the risk for them. And then they could do just the 2 smokes underhand and just fucking yeet down, you know. It's pretty bad smokes, but you get the idea. With this, for example, it would again be possible, but it's just really unlikely. And I want you guys, kind of homework, I guess. Next time you watch Nuke and someone, like the T send down a lurk, notice where they go down and notice if the rest of the team is following them. It's the same if like, I mean, it's really rare that you send one lurk down ramp, but like, at least the idea for us was if they would do outside smokes, okay, now we only have to block vent and we only have to block ramp. And obviously we have to block to make sure the secret guy isn't coming back up and they're trying to do an A-split or something. Like, we need to have maybe someone have an eye on like this or something, you know? Just so they don't walk down for free and the guy cannot come up. Yeah. But like, this, knowing this as well, again, it's like CS is one big mind game. If you know that CTs have this idea, then you want to, ST, try to go down the same spot twice. But that's really difficult as well, you know? But anyway, it's kind of like a golden rule. It's one of those things where it makes sense, but you won't think about it before you've heard it, basically. That's at least how it was for me. But now that I know it, I can add it to my own game. And it does actually make a pretty big difference.
Does this only apply if you know someone went down? Or like could they do fake smokes and you would think the same?
I mean, you could, like, I think it's mostly if you have information on them being down. Like, if they just do outside wall of smokes, it's very normal to do outside smokes and then do an A-pop, for example. This is probably a situation where, I mean, you're probably not thinking too much about maybe... Yeah, no, I don't really know. I guess the more I think about it, yes. Because if they do fake outside wall, I would anyway think, okay, their next move, if they're not running many down, is they're either gonna A-pop or they're gonna ramp up, you know?
Yeah, you would just focus ramp and A, yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
crazy for them to fake outside smokes and then do it again and go down for real. That makes no sense.
I don't get what the
Yeah.
fake is doing then, yeah.
Yeah, but that's why it actually would make sense for them to do. Because it wouldn't make sense. Like, no one expects it.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
No, but that's why CS is always like a fucking insane mind game. And that's, I mean, I get what you mean, Dom, and I'm on purpose being a little bit like obtuse or whatever. Like, it's like, it's kind of stupid to think that way, but at the same time, it is like, no one expects it, you know? So, yeah. I want you guys to at least have the thought. I think that kind of covers CT rotations on Nuke, because like, I could talk more, I guess, about like, I mean, we talked a little.
about.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about saving Yuto? Because I feel like you saw that scenario where you went down vent as the door player, with
Yeah.
and then you still have a smoke to block off secret. But I feel like often in that situation I wouldn't have a smoke left because I used it to block door like early in the round.
Yeah,
So like, where
Absolutely.
would you want to use it to block the CT pushes, and where would you want to save it?
well, I think you should almost always smoke door at start of round, and then also you need to smoke door. Well, basically most top teams, they keep just door smoke the entire time. but there are definitely scenarios where the round looks like this as a door player. That I come up through heaven, I molo, come over here, maybe I start top of hot. Now I see, okay, they're not here. I will smoke door. Then, let's say the T's didn't do a very good job at putting pressure. Maybe they're just doing like full default. Well, that means that my AWP is playing heaven. He has info outside. And then he will offer me new door smoke. So he will just come and aim middle of the lamp, I believe. Holy shit. I think I did it correct the first time. Like, it should be like the bottom of the white. Let me try it here. Yeah. So my AWP might offer me new door smoke, and then depending on where my other guy is playing, if he's playing rafters, for example, it's possible he will just chuck me a new smoke, you know, like so that lands on me while I'm standing here, right? So it could be a scenario where I basically have 3 smokes on door. It sounds a little bit crazy, but it can happen. And in this case, if they then now do wall of smokes, for example, I can't pick up smoke anymore. But if they do wall of smokes now, I have had door smoked the entire time, like until 1 minute. Now they do wall of smokes. Now my job is to go down. Then maybe I will come over here. I will do the magisk thing, you know, jiggle with Molo. And then maybe I get contact, I Molo. Now it's like 50 seconds, it's going to 45, and then now it's a scenario where I could use my smoke to block this, and then rotate up A. Then there won't be a door smoke, so it's maybe more like I am, like, depending on the round again, obviously. I probably won't go up here, but it could be, again, that the AWP is holding deep, or whatever, or maybe I just stand, like, close to the vent so that if the A pop now, I'm fast to go, stuff like this. It is a pretty rare scenario, but it can happen. It could also happen that, my AWP, for example, has started CT vent, and this allows me to keep my smoke for a lot longer than normal, so that then when the AWP says, okay, I don't want to hold this anymore, he leaves the smoke. Or maybe the door player does a smoke in door and the AWP is rotating down and he's the one doing it. Like, there's a million scenarios. I just can at least say from my own experience, it does happen that you end up blocking secret with late time and having smoke sometimes.
Obviously it's good to be able to block it, but I'm just like wondering what situation you would still have it left. Like, is there any tendencies that you would see out of like a team that would make you block door less heavily? Or is it just, for example, if your AWP is going for a pick or something like this?
I think just like... Yeah, no, I don't know actually. Like, against some teams, I would also just be less afraid, maybe. Like, I think holding here, for example, if door's not smoked, is kind of a solid duel. Some people also like this duel, where you hold like this. This would allow me, if they didn't do vent drop smoke, to hold this like kind of confidently. I know a lot of people also like to play this off angle, you know. And this is another scenario where maybe I don't use my door smoke, and now I hear whatever that they're doing outside smokes, and like there could be some scenarios. I smoke the door now, I rotate down, I use my Molotov. In this moment, I come back up because now I've blocked secret. I receive a new smoke, whatever. I go back down. I don't even know how I ended up in these situations because back then you couldn't even drop smokes, you know. But I can just say that it happened. But I also don't think I was not really door player in Heroic. So it must have been like as a hot player, and I, again, cannot really tell you how that would occur, but it just can. And it's, if you end up in this situation, it's nice to know, because it can really change the outcome of these. Like, it's probably also something you're more likely to end in if it's a very close game where the team, like the opposing team, plays like a maybe passive default or something like this. But yeah, I want to talk about one more thing to end off the CT rotations, and it's just because now I basically only talked about how you rotate to block B. I touched on it briefly when we did the pressure lines, but outside can kind of be split up into 3 things. There's secret, there's main, and there's under heaven. So an example of what I talked about earlier is that if the T's were to do instant wall of smokes, Holy shit. Imagine wall of smokes, yes? And they send 1 or 2 guys down. A really good position for me as an AWP could be to take this angle. Because A, it allows me to hold if the guys from Secret decide to go back to main. If they go this way later in the round, I have a basically unkillable position. But also, this allows me to kind of counter what I talked about earlier. If the whole team hasn't made it down Secret, even though it's pretty unlikely that the rest then also go Secret, it could be a scenario where they do outside wall of smokes, they do vent drop smoke like we talked about. This guy is now holding vent rotation, and now later in the round, like really late, it's a 3-on-3 or whatever, and they want to walk. Or maybe it's a 4-on-4. Either way, my point is just that this position can be really good to hold the deep info outside. It's maybe a little bit tricky to see with M4. But this is a spot you can take where, so long as the T's don't use outside smokes, you get the early info if they try to cross red, and you also can hold main. And you're basically unkillable here. Like, if you are here, you won't even see that there's an AWP there. And as AWP even, it's pretty impossible to kill this guy. So, this is an example of a position where you're able to hold a lot of outside. Like, this could be a thing as well. Let's say the T's started by just doing this smoke. Now, whatever happens, my outside player dies, but the T's didn't do wall of smoke. Maybe at the beginning, I will be holding like this. And then, when I realize this smoke is fading, maybe I move over here, and now I'm able to hold all of outside by myself. Even though my outside player is dead. I'm blocking Secret, I'm blocking main, and I'm blocking under heaven. This is an example of a rotation that doesn't necessarily have to block the B side, but can still be really valuable to think about. And again, we touched a bit on it briefly in the pressure lines about how to kind of play outside at CT, or like what things, like that, for example, if one is standing here, he's blocking under heaven and he's blocking main, and then the AWP only needs to hold Secret and stuff. I don't want to go too deep, but just for any AWP players, I want to recommend playing this position. It can be really good also because if they don't go outside, but now our ramp player who plays for the drop rotates down, now I can immediately just hold under heaven. And I'm in a pretty safe position unless the T's time me or if they push me. Because it does sometimes happen, someone takes outside lurk and he goes to check this. But again, pretty unlikely. So yeah, those were some CT rotations. And I hope that you guys understand a little bit better the kind of chain of command and who rotates when. That is basically the big thing as CT on Nuke. If your rotations fail, and this is what happens a lot of times in mixed teams, which is why Nuke is so hard to play as a mixed team, then you will lose a lot on CT. And that's also why basically every team I've been a part of, especially all Danish teams I've been a part of, the first map that we practice is always Nuke. The reason is, if you are a new team and you want to go through a lot of open qualifiers and stuff like this, Nuke is, together with Overpass, the best map to be good at. Because the skill ceiling on Nuke is really high, and the skill floor is really low. So what I mean with that is that if you just have a mixed team and you play Nuke, you are awful at Nuke, most likely. But if you are a team who grinds a lot, and you've been playing Nuke for a long time, you've got rotations down, you've got a good strat book and stuff like this, you will beat a mixed team 9 times out of 10, or maybe even more, because it's so unreliant on aim duels, and way more reliant on team play. So it's just a great map to be good at, because if you play it in a puck and you're better than your opposition, it's likely you are way better. And it's the same, if you want to be one of these up-and-coming stars, grinding through the open qualifiers and beating these mixed teams, Nuke is amazing for exactly that. So that's why I think Nuke is one of the best maps to learn. And if you ever would want, I could show you. I have like a million like tricks that take you from a average Nuke player to being a solid Nuke player, like utility and the likes. Any questions, guys?
I have one question.
Yeah.
If you are duo stacked or even like trio stacked in a pub game,
Yeah.
is it a smart idea to, instead of say have one playing heaven, one playing door, one playing outside, having one of the players on ramp, one of them outside, and one of them in heaven, so you can take responsibility for the rotations between the three of you? So instead
I
of
think
playing
that's smart,
actively
yeah.
together in a spot,
Mm-hmm.
purposely splitting up in order to force rotations correctly.
I would probably. I like your idea, and I haven't thought about it, but I like it a lot. I think maybe I would have the door player and the ramp and the rotation player, because the rotation like orb can still see the wall of smokes, you know, and I would not be comfortable having my door player, who is then a rotating player, to be someone I don't know, because I can just already see the scenario happen. That I'm out here playing outside, calling the wall of smokes, go down, door player, go down, and he's just like playing top of hot the whole time or something, and then the ramp player is late, and then so
'cause a random guy can just say that he's been like a wall of smoke's come up or he's been smoked off, and then he can
yeah,
set off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But I like the idea that you actually don't play together, but you take the kind of key, like the most difficult positions. I like that. That's a nice idea. Ghost, are you here still?
Yeah, bro.
Perfect. You had a question that I
Yeah, it
said I
was
would
like,
get back to later.
Like confidence, superstar mentality thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like how you can maintain that, how you can achieve it, or you know.
Yeah. So this is like basically a mental question.
Yeah.
I think my first immediate thought is that you don't want too many people who want, like, on a team to have the superstar mentality, right? Like, each successful team has to have someone who is not the star, and probably multiple people. Like, even Astralis, the greatest team of all time, Sipex, even though he was kind of, I mean, he was a superstar in his own right in terms of his clutching and his supporting and his all these things, but he was not a superstar compared to the others. He was not winning any of the MVPs ever. I think getting the superstar mentality, the boring answer to it is that if you play well, you will just naturally have more confidence. You will feel like you're better. So the first part of getting into the superstar mentality is putting in the work. If you put in the work and you start playing well, your confidence comes automatically, and you don't even need to worry about these things. But
Yeah, but that's when you're having a live game. But why if you're having a rough day or something? Like how you can still have the I'm better than those fucking noobs. It's I can go and fuck them up, you know. Even if
Well-
you're not feeling perfectly that day,
yeah,
how can you still play the same? Because every time you have a live game, you're just gonna play off intuition every time. You're gonna win 8 out of 10, right? Like just doing some
but
intuition.
I'm not
play.
even talking about live game necessarily. I'm just talking about, like, if you have some period of time where you're putting in the work and things are going good, it could be even a 2-week period, you will have a lot of confidence in that period, you know. You don't have to have like a complete live game, but if you just feel like you're playing really well, you will have more confidence naturally. I still understand what you may mean as well. I think there are a few things. We can talk about the ABC game. We can talk about, what was I thinking about as well? Yeah, what was I thinking about? Maybe I'll just start with the ABC game. Maybe it comes back to me. Basically, there's this theory in sports. It's more like ABC levels, I guess. But the idea is that you have different levels, basically. You have your A level, which is like when you basically have your life game or whatever. You have your B level, which is like a consistently good level, but nothing too crazy. And then you have your C level, right? Which is like, let's say, below average. And the idea is you want to find a playstyle that allows you to hit your B level almost every single match with an occasional A game and an occasional C game. Like, I remember we had this problem in my last team Ambush, which didn't go that great. We had a discussion about this, and we just felt almost like we were all playing our C game every game. And we basically didn't find a solution. But for when you're playing CT, for example, if you're playing ramp in a way where you are playing all in all the time, and you're constantly taking fights and stuff like this, you're way more likely to have a bunch of A games and a bunch of C games, because it's just more volatile. And that makes it so that if you're having a rough day, a day where your aim is just not really there, it will probably be a C game. And if you're having a day where your aim, like everything is hitting, you're gonna have a lot of A games. But you want it to be, like you want your playstyle to be in a way where you are able to have a B level performance, even if you're having a rough day. And there are a few ways to do this. Like, one thing is just find a more consistent way to play a role. What I just mentioned, for example, if you're just running around taking aim fights all the time, this is probably very inconsistent, and you will get abused on this on days where you're not feeling it. But one of the big things in Counter-Strike as well is if we kind of describe a Counter-Strike player, like a Counter-Strike player is 100%. Like, but what parts make up a Counter-Strike player? Let's say for Nico, let's say Santaris. His aim, let's say, is 50% of this game. Is like, let's call it aim and movement. His mechanical skill is 50%. And then, 15% of it is comms, and 15% of it is experience, and the last 20% is teamwork. It's just arbitrary, right? On a day where he's playing his regular B game, this is how he looks, right? Let's say with me, for example, I'm nowhere near as mechanically skilled as someone like Santaris. So let's say mechanics, for me, it's maybe 30% of my game. Maybe my comms are 25%. Whatever. These things, they are what define me as a player. They are what defines Santaris as a player. On a day where my mechanics are failing me, as I mentioned, I want to find a consistent playstyle, but I want to pick up on the things that don't have to do with mechanics. So if I am having... Well, let me start differently. The way a lot of really inexperienced players or faceit puckers are, is that on a day where they have live game, they are super active on the communication. They are bringing up new plays all the time. Like, hey, let's do this. Give me this flash. Do that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, now we rotate. Let's do this, This is good. But for a lot of these faceit puckers and inexperienced players, if they are having a bad performance, they get completely quiet and they don't bring up ideas. They don't take control of the game. And this sort of impact that they have when they play well is just completely missing. That's why, as a Counter-Strike player, when you're having a rough day, you want to pick up on the other things. If my mechanics, because I'm having a day where I suck, they move to 15% instead of 30%, well, I maybe want to up my communication and focus even more on helping my teammates. Maybe I will focus even more on supporting. Maybe I will focus even more on T-sides. Instead of being the guy baiting in the back, I want to be the guy running in front and dying. And you can see that as kind of agreeing with yourself that today I just suck and I just need to give up. But I don't think it should be seen as that. It should just more be seen as you have to every day give 110% in Team Counter-Strike. And if you're not able to give your 110% in mechanics, you have to do something else to bring you to that level. So being good on a day where you're bad has less to do with changing your mindset to, oh, I'm still just amazing, I'm gonna just fuck everyone. It can also be changing your mindset to, I am not having the day. Let me see what things outside mechanics I can use to help my team to win. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I have another one, because now I actually came up with what, like, we'll call it a mental shield. I used this a lot when I was younger, and honestly, I think the impact of it cannot be understated, but it can also get annoying. So, like, when I was a younger player, I was very defensive when I would get criticism. This is not something I would recommend, but I was really good at, if I had a bad performance, after the match, I would review it, and I would try to be as honest with myself as I could, but I would typically come to the conclusion that, okay, I can change this in round 7, I can change this in round 13, here I did something bad, here I did something better, but overall, I was also very unlucky. And by using the term mentally that you are, that you are unlucky, I think it can be sometimes used positively as a mental shield. You don't have to share it with other people, but if I'm having a match where I'm starting 0-0-8, sometimes what I do is I will think to myself, am I playing so bad that I deserve a 0-0-8? And if the answer to that is no, if I feel like I'm playing good, but I don't know, my shots are not connecting, I'm getting shot a lot in the back and stuff like that, I will think with myself, it's just an unlucky game, and my luck will change. I remember this is something I was really good at in Sprout and those kind of teams as well. I had another sentence that I really often went back to, which was, it doesn't matter how you start, whoever is the better player will be at the top at the end. And you can look at it in a match-specific context. I don't care if I'm 0-0-8. In fact, I remember a specific match with Lyngby Vikings on Vertigo against Endpoint, where I started, I think, 0-0-10, and I still ended up top of the scoreboard at the end of the map. If you actually are better, you will most likely end on the top of the scoreboard, no matter how bad your start is. And being able to have this mentality that if I'm better, I will prove it, or I am not playing that bad, I am just being unlucky, my luck will change. I think these are easier to organically start thinking when you are having a rough game than organically start thinking when you're 0-10, whatever, I'm still the greatest to ever do it, I'm gonna completely destroy everyone now. Having that mindset is not a bad thing. I think it's good. You should always think you're better than the opposition. But I think it's also difficult to get there. And I think it's natural for some players, and it's more difficult for other players. Like, I hate to kind of name drop someone here in the class, but I think Philip, who is here, he's very like me mentally, and I think for Philip, if he has a rough start to a game, he's not the type of guy who would be able to sit there and still think, oh, I'm the greatest and stuff. He's got a very analytical mind, and that's, someone like Config, for example, who I watched today on NIP. I've shared this story a few times, but I once played with him actually on Nuke against Navi, and at the halftime he was 0-0-14, and instead of him letting it get to him, he just starts yelling like a Viking in the halftime, like as loud as he possibly could, and was just, it sounded almost like he was slapping himself in the face. He was like trying to hype himself up and stuff like this. And people have different ways to, I don't know, react to pressure and react to these situations. Someone like Config, he is like, if anyone here is familiar with like Niklas Bentner or Zlatan Ibrahimovic or these kind of footballers, well, no matter what happens, they will always have confidence. But I think for a lot of people, this confidence is not always there. And then it's good to kind of have something to fall back on if you are feeling, unconfident in a match. It's nice to be able to objectively look at, am I actually playing bad? Am I actually playing different? Or am I getting unlucky? And yeah, I think you can use it as a crutch. You shouldn't say too much to your teammates like, I'm just getting so unlucky all the time and stuff like this. You can do it, but sometimes they can, I don't know, take it as a negative as well.
Alright, so the best advice is just to start yelling real loud and slap yourself in the face.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's just very specific to some people like Config. I think it's like, there's not many people who are able to do this where they still think they are zero forcing, and they're still sitting there thinking like, oh my god, I'm the greatest to ever do it, kind of thing, you know? People just behave, like, handle pressure differently, and while I think it's a really good goal to have, that I always want this mindset that I'm the greatest, it's just not natural for everyone, basically. But I also, like, in Lyngby Vikings, for example, I felt I was too good for that team. Like, I was playing really good, and I was just a stand-in, basically, and every opponent we were playing against, I was absolutely destroying them. So I had a lot of confidence in this period of time as well. But something that also really helped me was that I talked so much trash about the opponent. Like, I would never tell them, but I would literally start every match by being on TeamSpeak, being like, oh guys, I'm feeling so insanely nervous. These guys are so fucking good. And then right after I'd be like, actually guys, I'm gonna eat them. Or I don't know. I had this thing where I would say, guys, this game I'm gonna shit in their mouth so deep that it's gonna come out their own ass.
Noted.
Yeah, this is a good sentence to keep. But the point of it is just that I think confidence. I've been spending really long on this, but I feel very strongly about it. And I love talking about like the mental game of Counter-Strike as well. Confidence, it's easier to organically build it up by working hard. Someone like Dunk, for example, who is probably, he is definitely the biggest talent in the world, and I expect him to be a top 5 player in the world within the next probably 2 years, depending on which team he's playing for. He has no issues with confidence because he is just better. If you put in the work and you actually get really good at the game, the confidence is natural. Like, if you are used to playing 3,000, or like, let's say 1.5k elo Faceit, and you keep putting in the work and you get better and better and better, and now you're getting up to 2,000 elo and you're still destroying them, you're gonna be extremely confident. But I would rather give advice to the situations where you don't have that confidence, how to deal with it, then I would give advice on how can I stay confident. Because I think it takes like a certain personality type. And I also think that that should not be the goal. Like, in like every mental coach I've ever talked to, when I've approached them and said, sometimes when I'm playing, I'm feeling nervous. And they've always said, okay, everyone feels nervous. Saiwu feels nervous. Simple feels nervous. You cannot fix being nervous. Like, it comes with experience, and it sometimes is there, sometimes it's not. But what you can deal with is how you deal with the nervousness. You can channel it into something positive. Oh, I'm nervous. That means I care a lot about this match. That means I want to win. That's a positive. Oh, I'm really nervous. That means I got a lot of adrenaline in my body. That means I'm gonna have faster reflexes than other people. You want to channel these things into a good thing. I'm not confident right now. Why is that? Am I playing bad? No, I am just getting pretty unfortunate. I'm not feeling confident right now. That means I am playing at the highest level I've ever played in my career. This means, I don't know, I care more. And it means that I'm in the process of moving forward. So I just gotta keep doing my thing. I would rather approach it like that. there will be games even for Simpo and for Saivo and stuff like this where they probably also have low confidence, where they're not feeling it, and the only thing you can do is learn how to live with it and don't let it take you out of your comfort zone, basically. Yeah. If anyone has like one super speedy question, we can do that. Otherwise, I think that's
I
it.
have a question. I don't know how speedy it is, but I did
You can
ask
try.
the other coach Scorch as well, or
Yeah.
Scorch.
Mhm.
I asked about like teams since I did reach level 10. I'm not high elo. I'm only like 2.1k elo right now.
Yeah.
But wondering like where and when to search for teams. Like should I improve individually more and mechanically more, or should I search for them right now, like some lower level teams? Because I've been in a few teams, but not that many, and not high level teams. So and with kind of teams, like should I go for ESC Open teams or like other ones? I don't know. Like and where as well. He told me to search on like ESC Open forums, but I searched up today and there was nothing. It's not active. It's like one post every week or every 3 days.
I
So,
know
yeah, I
that
don't know how fast it is.
Nard out here, who you guys might know, he has
Yeah,
just
I know.
created this website called, I think it's called CS2 app, and I believe I saw that there is like a team searching part of this where you put in your elo and your nationality and your age and your role or something like this, and you can find like-minded people. This is something I would give a go, but otherwise, what I did when I was coming up was I played matchmaking and I met people that I like to play with and who were around my level, and then I would become friends with them, and then I would just ask them if they wanted to start a team. That's how I did
Yeah,
it.
but
And yeah,
I assume they're not the people that you know went to heroic with. Of course, you like
I mean,
played
one of
in
them
some
was
tournaments and people scouted you out, right? Like
like the
how did
first
you
team
get that level?
the first team I ever played in was with Magisk.
First team.
Yeah, and I like we picked him up as our third player basically, with a guy called Resix as well, who also had a professional career, and then Cyclone as well, who was the coach of Mousesports, and then the last was actually yeah, I mean I was also playing with Lecro in one of the tournaments in the early days. We kind of all made it. It's all about finding like-minded people who are around the same level and who are also committed. And you can always change a player. Like we had also a guy called Erikip. I think this guy, he was a much bigger talent than me, a bigger talent than Rizix, a bigger talent than Cyclone. He never made it, and that only came down to the fact that he just didn't, I guess, want it enough. He didn't work hard enough, I think. But the guy was more talented than me, for sure, 100%. Like, he was roughly as good as me, but he was 4 or 5 years younger than me. So,
Yeah, sorry, one more thing. What do you think about like I guess people like Brokey? I think he went by FPL, like FPL route, and he got like into phase with that route. Like, what do you think is the, how can I say, most optimal route? Like for me, for now, like I think ESC Open is the easiest way to get scouted and to get better teams, to get like to learn a lot about Team CS and
yeah.
that. But I want to hear like your opinion on it.
Yeah.
What's
No,
the best way
I
in this era, I guess?
I agree. Like the best thing you can do is play in a team and learn how to play in a team early. That's a big advantage. Like you can be one of the few who goes to FPL and gets like scouted there, but it's rare. And there are a lot of FPL players who have been really good in FPL who were not that good at Team CS. You know, at least disappointing compared to how good they were in FPL. So definitely, I think one of the best things you can do for yourself is play in a team and play in a team early. And what's so lovely about something like ESGA Open, you know, is that you have the chance to play many seasons and go up the level slowly. And it's really easy to track your process. Like if you play ESGA Open and then the next season you play Intermediate, and then maybe you spend another season in Intermediate, and then you make it to main, and then you make it to. It's really easy to process, like if you are doing better or worse than one season ago, and I definitely recommend. Yeah, the best thing you can do for yourself is if you want to get on the good teams, is play in a team and play good. If your team is successful, you will be spotted. If you are very successful individually, you will be spotted. That's how I see it.
But last thing is like, should I work on my mechanics more? Should I like? I know a lot of people say, oh, you should get like 3 kilo and then search for teams. Or do you think it's better to start off even if I'm like only 2.1 kilo?
I think it's better to start off ASAP.
Okay.
You will learn a lot from playing Team CS, and maybe, for example, with me, actually I had a little bit of a tough road, but a lot of the young players from the Danish scene, part of the reason why they get so good so early is because the Danish scene has a lot of strong IGLs. Like Stair, who's playing for Australis right now, he played with Barry, who's the coach of Sprout, for example. And like a lot of these guys, maybe a little bit of an older generation, were all playing with this guy called Haste, like Hester. And he's the analyst of NIP right now and stuff like this. Like a lot of people played with Hunden, Borup, for example, Glaive, Asilion. There's a lot of people who played with MSL as well. Cadian played a lot with Hunden. Learning from someone who has a lot of experience is probably one of the best ways to improve your team game. So I would definitely recommend that, yeah.
What would
Okay,
you say
you.
about people that are like last level? So if people aren't level 10, should they also try and find a team, or should they just try and work on mechanics and try and get to like level 9 or 10 before they find a team?
I think you'll also get there much quicker if you just join the team, because you'll
Yeah,
just get the game more. Like
Yeah,
that's what
I
I've
agree.
noticed. Like most players that are around that level that I've seen join teams, like got to level 10 so much quicker than
yeah,
players that didn't do that.
completely agree. Guys, before someone else pops up with a new question, I'm gonna have to end the session. Like we can sit and chill a little bit maybe, but I have to wake up in 6 hours, so I I can't stay too long. So thank you so much, guys, for coming to the session. I hope you got some questions answered, and I hope you learned something about CT rotations on Nuke. I am really interested to hear if you guys learned something. So next time you play Nuke, if you come back to like one of my classes and you let me know if it worked or didn't work, then I would really appreciate it. I would love to hear some feedback on especially this, because I think it will make a big difference for you guys in understanding
Alright, so
how
we
to
can
play
blame you if we lose Elo and Nuke?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you for the class.
Next one of
No
my
problem.
best maps, but I definitely like learned quite a lot from this as well.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I have plenty more to say on Nuke. It's one of the greatest maps to talk through, you know. But yeah.
I thought
Anyway.
you wanted to say play. I was like, nah.
I mean, it's also the best map to play.
Nah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Nah. All my homies say